Hope all of us are doing fine. My name is Ernest, and this is Ernest Sciences and Mathematics TV channel. In my discussion today, I'm going to look at the concept of multiplication and division of complex numbers. And these are going to be assisting us in trying to show or do an evaluation of these two basic operation processes and, of course, come up with a result. And we're going to see that in order for us to accomplish this, I'm going to be doing this specific video in terms of 3 sets. The first one is going to constitute the basic concepts that we need to learn from the concept of compound angles, or the representation of compound angles in terms of the trigonometric ratios. And of course, I'm also going to look at the second part, whereby we are going to be requiring to represent these specific angles in terms, or rather the points in terms of the polar coordinates. Now, in a sense, I'm going to look at the specific functions which are going to constitute functions of compound angles. And these are going to assist us in trying to represent these specific ratios. Or in any case, if we come across this specific representation, then therefore it's going to be easier for us to identify which particular function is going to be applicable in that particular case. So in this case, I'm going to look at the sum of compound angles given in terms of theta plus phi. And this is going to be represented using, of course, a particular formula which we have come across in our discussion on the trigonometric functions, which can be given in terms of the sine over theta, the cosine over phi, plus the cosine over theta, the sine over phi given as such. And that is going to be representing the sum for the two compound angles given for theta and phi given as such for the sine function. Now, suppose we had the cosine function over phi plus theta, which is given as such. So this is going to be represented using the cosine over theta, the cosine over phi, minus the sine over theta, the sine over phi given as such. And this is going to be creating for us for the two basic, of course, trigonometric functions giving for the sum of the two specific angles. We can as well consider the case for the, of course, a difference between those two angles given in terms of theta minus phi. So for this particular case, we're going to see that we are going to have the difference between the two, which can be given in terms of this sine over theta, cosine over phi. So basically, this is going to be the sine over theta. So this is going to be the sine over theta, cosine of phi, minus the cosine over theta, the sine over phi. So basically, it's going to be forming the difference for the first set. It's going to be an analogous formula to the first set, but only that we're going to have a change of a sign for the, of course, sum and the difference for the cosine function of this specific concept of compound angles. Now, if we try to look at the concept of a cosine, we're going to have a theta minus phi. And this can be given in terms of basically the second representation which we have had. Of course, there's going to be as well a difference in this specific sign of the addition sign. So we're going to have the cosine over theta, cosine of phi, plus the sine over theta, the sine over phi given as such. And this is going to be representing the result for this specific function. Now, lastly, we shall look at the concept of the tangent or the tan over theta, and try to see the difference between the tan of theta and tan of phi, and how it can be given in terms of this specific representation. So for this particular case, of course, we are going to know to be applying this specific, of course, concept for the tan in this multiplication and division of complex numbers. But we're going to come across it in some of our videos. So in that specific, of course, case that then I felt that it's necessary for us to see how we can represent. So perhaps we can start with the addition for the tan over theta and phi. So this can be represented in terms of the tan over theta plus the tan over phi. And then this is going to be given as 1 minus the tan over theta and tan phi given as such. So this is going to be forming the ratio for the addition of this tangent or tan function given as such. So for the subtraction, this is going to be having a change of those particular signs which have given as we have done for the first two, which basically is going to be represented as the tan of theta minus the tan of phi divided by 1 plus the tan theta tan phi. And this is going to be forming a range of ratios which we are going to come across in case we come across them in either multiplication or division of complex numbers. They are going to, the concept of functions of compound angles are going to be assisting us try to identify this specific representation. And in case if we come across them, then it will be appropriate for us to use a particular and evaluated form of this specific equation for the sets of functions basically which are given on my left side of the board. And of course, that's going to be assisting us in trying to simplify the sine and cosine function of these specific angles in order for us to find the respective evaluations. So in this particular case, I'd like to request our members to kindly check our description boxes for links that I'm going to put there. It's going to be consisting of course, topics and a similar discussion, basically perhaps for such a kind of a discussion on the concept of complex numbers. So that is it for now, guys. Kindly do not forget to subscribe, ring that notification bell, and also engage us in the comment section for more. That is it for now, guys. Bye. God bless you. Catch us in our next video.